has been pretty much covered by the other people. I'm representing a Fusilier of the 23rd Regiment, Fusiliers of Royal Welsh Fusiliers. They were one of the first units to come here, along with the 64th and the 8th. They were here throughout the Revolution and fought in almost every major campaign, except the Saratoga campaign, because they were already down south, and the Saratoga troops came from up north of Canada. He mentioned the color of the facings. Mine are blue, his are blue. That's because we are royal regiments. We, at one time, belonged to the king and not to Parliament. By this time, my regiment was under the command of Parliament and the regular army. Only the guards were the king's own men. He mentioned about the different colored lace, and some of you may be saying, the lace looks white to me. That's because I am a sergeant. In this regiment, and things change from regiment to regiment. Things were far less uniform. White lace marked the sergeant, a sash marked the sergeant, and this thing marked the sergeant. As the other man said, this was pretty much a decoration at this point. Nobody fought with these. It was, you know, you were dead if you tried to fight with this. The 23rd was here throughout the Revolution. Most of it was surrendered at Yorktown, not all of it. Some of it was in New York at the time. And they proceeded from the Americas to the Bahamas after the Revolution. So, thank you.
All right, I'm a little different. I'm also a little hoarse this morning. I'm a gunner's mate for His Majesty's Royal Navy. My voice is gone because I've been spending the morning yelling at this raw recruits, trying to train them to be artillerymen on our campus without a whole lot of success. My clothing is a little bit different. Starting from the hat, you may have heard Grace refer to as Jack Tars. It's because of the tar hat. This is layers of canvas sewn together and then tarred to try to make it a little more water repellent. I carry a cutlass when I'm on land duty, aboard ship. These would have been available in cases of emergency. The British Navy was always afraid of mutiny aboard their own ships. So the average sailor did not have access to weapons. All the firearms were under lock and key. Cutlasses, in case of battle, would be put out in buckets along with axes to be used not only to repel boarders, but in case of some of the rigging being damaged, sails going overboard, you had to cut the ropes away very quickly. You could use your cutlass or you could use the axe. The cartridge box I'm wearing has a cipher of King George. My trousers were a little bit different, definitely different from all these. Striped linen, much cooler in the summertime. If you get a chance, come out and watch our artillery demonstration a little later on today. Thank you.
The first thing I want to mention is because I'm standing here wearing sunglasses. Did they have sunglasses in the 18th century? Yes, they did. Green, blue, or rose color. You heard the terminology, you're looking through rose-colored glasses. That's where it comes from. And they were given primarily to people in mental institutions. Also, I'm bred of brown redface. Not all continental soldiers were blue redface. They were all different colors. My color came from 1778. The French sent over about 20,000 uniforms, 10,000 blue redface, 10,000 brown redface. It was known as lottery codes. We drew the lottery for the brown. And what you're looking at is a snapshot of time. Because we lived in these uniforms 24/7. When we were sent to Charleston, where we were captured, it is reported that we were, quote unquote, unique. Everything else is the same. 5th Virginia was formed between Richmond and Williamsburg, and we are part of the Continental Line because we were authorized by Congress. And there will be a test following the last presentation. You are not allowed to leave until all papers are read.
you, Bert. And last but not
We'd
least,
save your best till last. That's why I made all those other guys go first. I couldn't wait to say that. The people in the back are ready to say, I hope he doesn't start talking about land navigation. They're ready to leave. I'm not. I'm dressed pretty much a typical American officer. Officers had a choice. They could draw lottery coats, contract coats. They were really made under contract from the French. That first soldier you saw had a contract coat, and then the states had lotteries to see what color. But the coats were made under contract from France. So as an officer, I had a choice that I could draw a uniform from France, or if I spend my own money, have a much finer coat made, as this one is. It's called superfine wool. It's just much better grade of wool, smoother, softer. Does look nice, come on, right? So I'm wearing a coat that I would have had made by a tailor.
in comparison, this would be a lottery coat. When you touch it, feel how coarse the wool is. Okay? Feel how nice. Whoa, he spent big bucks, man.
So the officers had a choice. Plus, the coat is not the same. You'll notice it has red piping on the edges. All right, the pocket flaps have red piping, silver buttons, not pewter. So the officers tended to dress a little better if they could afford it than the enlisted men. As I said, this is pretty much a typical American officer for any Army unit. I have one epaulette. It's on my left shoulder because I am a lieutenant. If I had it on my right shoulder, I would be a captain. Above that, they would have epaulettes on both shoulders. All right? And it's your job as the soldier to know who's what rank, majors, colonels, and so on. But for the enlisted man, all he has to know is that's a captain. I'm not worried about anybody above that. All right? So it's really not that important. Bob's wearing a green cockade. At one time, they tried to use cockades as a symbol of rank. It was always a problem for the Americans. But then they settled on for officers, silver for infantry, gold for artillery. And again, anything that I tell you, you can go out and find something that contradicts it. Because the one thing you can say about the American Revolution is always and never seldom applied. All right? I portray a geographer in Washington's map makers. We're map makers. We have surveyors, and I am a geographer. I am capable of calculating lunar distance, and I can calculate my longitude. I measure the latitude every day. So I was used for maps of big proportion, where longitude and latitude make distortions if you consider the Earth flat. So that was my job. The geographers came from regular Army units. There were men in the Army that had been surveyors as civilians. So Washington asked them, hey, you want to be geographers? And it turns out that some of the men they brought as chain bearers came from their own regiments because they knew the men, and they could either they had been chain bearers, maybe not, or they could be easily trained by the officer who knew them. And you may or may not think that being a surveyor, Army surveyor is good or better duty than being an infantryman. I'll leave it up to you. The surveyors in the Sullivan campaign were attacked by Indians, and one of the guards, the infantry guards sent with the surveyors to protect them, had forgot his musket. So I'll leave, you can figure out the quality of the guards on your own. Carry a sword, you wore a badge of rank. Sash, again, you wore a badge of rank. I'll just tell you one quick story about the epaulets, or the cockades. They tried to use different color ribbon, and at one point, and I may have them backwards, but lieutenants had a green ribbon and captains had a yellow ribbon. So this fellow was a lieutenant, he had to leave, he went home, his girlfriend gave him a piece of yellow ribbon, all right, as a keepsake. So he takes, what's he gonna do? He sticks it in his hat. He comes back and he's arrested for impersonating an officer, a higher officer, because he was a lieutenant. Should have had green, he had this yellow piece of ribbon from his girlfriend, and he was court-martialed. Luckily, George Washington said, wait a minute, we're not hanging anybody, we're not shooting this guy, just explain to him the rules and let him go about his business. So, rank, it was like Brian said, things were always changing. So, and if you want to learn about celestial navigation and surveying, come on over. You'll be in the shade.
I thank you one and all for your attention. Next on the schedule is the balloon battle outside for the youngins or young at heart. And then you can pick up a normal schedule at the front desk to see what we're going to do later this afternoon. We are going to squeeze in a solemn ceremony at the tomb of the unknown patriot shortly, probably after the balloon tackle. So stay posted. Thank you for your attention. I hope you take one thing, at least one thing away from today's discussions. Thank you again so much.